For almost 80 years, every major power on Earth has been trying to solve the same problem. How do you catch the United States military? China built the largest navy in the world by ship count. Russia built hypersonic missiles America still hasn't matched. Iran built swarms of cheap drones. North Korea built missiles that can reach American cities. And after all of it, after decades of trying, the answer to one question has barely moved. Who has the most powerful military machine on the planet? It's still the United States, but not for the reason most people think. It's not just the carriers, not just the stealth bombers, not just the nuclear submarines hiding under the ocean right now. The real secret of American power isn't the weapons at all. It's the system that connects them. Because here's what every rival keeps missing. Catching America is not the same thing as copying America. So today, we are taking this system apart across 5 domains. 4 that you can see: the sea, the air, the land, and orbit, and 1 that operates strictly in the dark. Watch closely how these pieces fit together, because by the end of this breakdown, I'm going to show you the single greatest weapon in the American arsenal, and why it is the one thing a trillion-dollar budget will never be able to replicate. This is Future War Tech. The scale. Start with the money, because it's staggering. And it's also the most misunderstood part of the whole story. The United States spends north of $900 billion a year on defense. That single budget is bigger than the next 9 or 10 countries on Earth combined. It pays for around 1.3 million active troops, and, the number people never expect, about 750,000 civilians working directly for the Department of Defense, making the Pentagon one of the largest employers on the planet. All of it spread across hundreds of bases on foreign soil. But here's the insight the rest of this video is built on. Money is not everything. Because if a budget alone decided who had the strongest military, the wealthy oil states of the Middle East, some of which spend a huge share of their economy on the most expensive hardware money can buy, would be among the top fighting forces on Earth. They're not close. You can buy the jets. You can't buy 80 years of experience flying them. You can buy the ships. You can't buy the allies who let you base them. Money is just the entry fee, and one number proves it. In real, inflation-adjusted dollars, America spends more on defense today than in any single year of the Cold War. Yet it's only about 3% of the economy. In the 1950s, it was 8 to 10%. The U.S. is spending more than it ever has, and barely feeling the weight. So the question was never, who spends the most? It's, what did they build with it? 5 domains. We start where America reaches farther than anyone, the sea. Chapter 1. The Sea, Global Reach. The first piece of the system is reach, the power to put overwhelming force off anyone's coast anywhere on Earth and keep it there indefinitely. The numbers set the stage. The U.S. Navy fields around 337,000 active sailors, close to 300 battle force warships, and roughly 2,600 of its own aircraft. And here's the comparison that says it all. By tonnage, the total weight of all its ships, the American battle fleet outweighs the next 13 navies on Earth combined, and 11 of those 13 are American allies. Stop and picture that. America's fleet outweighs every rival and most of its friends stacked on top of each other. The headline is the 11 aircraft carriers. Nuclear supercarriers, 100,000 tons, around $13 billion each, more than the rest of the world combined. For comparison, Russia has exactly one carrier, half the size and barely seaworthy. China has built 3 and is still learning to use them. Open one up because the stats are absurd. A single supercarrier is a floating city, about 5,000 sailors, its own hospital, thousands of meals a day, a reactor that runs over 20 years without refueling. It carries an air wing of roughly 70 aircraft, F/A-18 Super Hornets, F-35C stealth fighters, and radar planes that can see hundreds of miles in every direction. The newest, the Ford class, hurls a 30-ton fighter off the deck with an electromagnetic catapult in about 2 seconds. One ship carries more air power than most countries' entire air force. And it never sails alone. It moves at the center of a strike group, a cruiser, a squadron of destroyers, attack submarines beneath, the air wing above, around 7,500 people moving as one machine. Those destroyers are warships most navies would kill for. The Arleigh Burke class. America has built around 78 of them. Each weighs nearly 10,000 tons, as much as a World War II cruiser, carries the Aegis combat system, and packs roughly 90 launch cell tubes that fire interceptors at incoming missiles or Tomahawk cruise missiles at targets 1,000 miles inland. America has more of these single destroyers than most nations have warships of any kind at all. But the deadliest part of this Navy is the part you never see. The submarine fleet, around 70 boats, and here's the fact that stuns people. Every single one is nuclear powered. The US hasn't run a diesel submarine since 2007. No other Navy on the planet can say that. And they don't just dive deep. Their silence is a masterpiece of engineering. Hulls wrapped in rubbery anechoic tiles that swallow incoming sonar, driven by a pump jet that pushes water through a shrouded duct instead of a noisy spinning propeller. The entire engine room floated on isolated rafts so the vibration never reaches the water. 14 are the Ohio class, the largest submarines America's ever built, 18,000 tons submerged. Each carries as many as 20 Trident missiles, and each Trident is designed to carry up to 8 independent nuclear warheads, flying more than 7,000 kilometers. So a single Ohio can strike dozens of separate targets at once, and the US has kept at least one of them on patrol, hidden somewhere on Earth, continuously every day since 1960. The rest are attack submarines, the Virginia and Los Angeles classes, silent hunters that escort the carriers and stalk enemy ships. 4 older Ohio boats were converted into cruise missile submarines carrying 154 Tomahawks each. One boat, enough to erase an airbase before anyone knows it's there. And then there's the one nobody talks about, the USS Jimmy Carter, stretched 100 feet longer than its sisters, built for missions so secret that officially we're not entirely sure what it does. Tapping undersea cables, inserting commandos, things no other submarine on Earth can do. So why is it the strongest Navy in the world? Not because it has the most ships. China actually has more hulls now. Its reach, tonnage, nuclear endurance, and the ability to fight anywhere indefinitely while everyone else is stuck guarding their own coastline. But here's the crack in the armor, the one that keeps admirals awake at night. Those launch cells hold a fixed number of missiles. Empty them, and the ship has to sail hundreds of miles back to port to reload. Now send a swarm of cheap drones, tens of thousands of dollars each, by the hundreds, and force that ship to answer with interceptor missiles worth millions apiece. The strongest navy on Earth may not lose because it's weaker. It may lose a local fight because it runs out of shots faster than the enemy runs out of targets. And that problem reaches all the way up into the sky. Chapter 2. The Air. Control of distance. The second piece of the system isn't a fighter jet. It's distance, the power to bring force to any point on the planet, and to own the sky once you arrive. Start with the scale, because it breaks brains. Across all its branches, the United States operates around 13,000 military aircraft, more than the next 9 countries combined, roughly 3 times Russia's fleet and 4 times China's. The Air Force alone, with over 300,000 people and around 5,000 aircraft, is the single largest air force in the world. And 3 of the next largest air forces on Earth also fly the American flag. But raw numbers can mislead, so look at quality. America was first to field a 5th-generation stealth fighter, the F-22, back in 2005. It built around 180 of them and never sold a single one. Then came the F-35, now the most produced stealth fighter in history. Neither Russia nor China has anything close to those numbers in service. The bombers make the point even sharper. Count them, and China actually has more, around 200 to America's 140. But America's include 19 B-2 Spirits, flying wings, around $2 billion each, only 20 ever built, that can slip through air defenses that would shred a conventional bomber. Quantity versus capability. Capability wins. And then there's the legend, the B-52. It first flew in the 1950s. The Air Force built the B-1 to replace it, then built the B-2 to replace both, and the B-52 has outlived both of its own replacements. It's set to keep flying past 2050, which would make it the first military aircraft in history to serve a full century. Grandfathers, fathers, and sons have flown the very same airframes. It hauls 70,000 pounds of bombs, and with refueling, its range is effectively unlimited. Which brings up the hidden weapon of American air power, and almost nobody films it. It isn't a fighter at all. It's distance. 2 things make it real. First, tankers. The United States owns roughly 3/4 of the entire world's military refueling aircraft, 3/4 of the planet's. Second, airlift. The giant transports, the C-17 Globemaster and the colossal C-5 Galaxy. Together, they mean the real superpower isn't any single jet. It's the ability to pack up an entire fighting force, tanks, troops, helicopters, supplies, and set it down anywhere on Earth within about 48 hours. No other nation can move its army across the planet the way America can. Everybody films the fighters. The professionals stare at the tankers and the cargo planes, and the Air Force guards the apocalypse too. Buried under the plains of Montana, North Dakota, and Wyoming sit around 400 Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missiles, on alert 24 hours a day, ready to fly in minutes, standing watch since 1970. Their grim nickname is the Warhead Sponge, because in a nuclear war, an enemy would have to spend hundreds of his own warheads just trying to destroy them in the ground. And then there's the plane built for the worst day in human history, the E-4B Nightwatch, the Doomsday Plane, a hardened Boeing 747 built to become a flying command center so that even if every base on the ground is gone, America can still run a war from the sky. A sister aircraft can actually launch those buried missiles by radio, mid-flight. Even if the homeland is destroyed, the response still flies. So control of distance is the second piece of the system. But the sky means nothing without the people who hold the ground. And on the ground, America plays a very different game. Chapter 3: The Land, War that Arrives from Another Continent. The third piece of the system is the hardest to picture, so let me put it plainly. The U.S. Army's real power isn't just ground combat. It's the ability to make a full land war appear on the other side of the planet, and that takes two things almost no one else has at once: mass and mobility. First, the mass. The Army is the largest branch by people, around 452,000 active soldiers, close to 1 million with the National Guard and reserves. A land force bigger than the entire military of almost every country on Earth. Its backbone is the M1 Abrams, 70 tons of armor, powered by a jet-style gas turbine, wrapped in classified composite armor so tough that in the Gulf War, Abrams tanks took direct hits and kept fighting. The ammunition is sealed in a blowout compartment, so even a catastrophic hit vents up and out, and the crew survives. America has built over 10,000 of them. Around 5,000 are in service, with thousands more sitting in storage, a reserve of armor most nations can only dream of. Behind them, thousands of Bradley fighting vehicles, thousands of Strykers, self-propelled howitzers, and the rocket system that became famous in Ukraine, HIMARS, dropping a precision rocket through a window from dozens of miles away. And the Army holds the shield too, Patriot and THAAD missile defense batteries that swat ballistic missiles out of the sky. Very few countries have working missile defense at all. America builds it, fields it on 3 continents, and exports it to its allies. But here's the wow fact almost nobody clocks. The Army flies more than 4,000 aircraft, almost all helicopters, Apache gunships, Blackhawks, Chinooks. On its own, the U.S. Army's helicopter fleet would rank as one of the largest air forces on Earth. The Army doesn't just have helicopters, it has an entire air force hiding inside it. And then comes the mobility, the part that actually wins. The 82nd Airborne keeps a force ready to parachute onto the far side of the planet on extremely short notice. Boots on the ground across the world before most countries have finished their first meeting about it. That is the real Army story. Not just power, but power that arrives. While other armies fight in their own neighborhood, the U.S. Army is built to land, intact and ready, 10,000 miles from home. But heavy ground power is only one half of the American land story. The other half is speed, the force designed to arrive before the main war even has a name. Chapter 4: First in, Last seen. The fourth piece of the system is precision human capability and the global access to use it in any country on Earth. It starts with the Marines. They confuse people because the Marine Corps isn't just infantry, it's a self-contained military with its own ground troops, its own artillery, its own armor, and its own air force. Around 180,000 Marines, which on its own would rank as a top 30 military on Earth, bigger than the entire armed forces of most countries. And they fly over 1,200 of their own aircraft, F-35B stealth fighters, attack helicopters, and the Osprey, that strange tilt rotor that lifts off like a helicopter and flies like a plane. By itself, marine aviation would be roughly the 7th largest air force in the world. The Marines exist to be first. When they deploy, they go as a complete package. A Marine Expeditionary Unit, around 2,000 Marines with their own jets, helicopters, armor, artillery, and supplies, riding the amphibious ships from Chapter 1. It can hit a hostile coastline anywhere on Earth with no help from anyone. And the U.S. keeps these units floating, forward deployed around the world at all times. So a complete American fighting force is always just over the horizon, ready the moment the phone rings. They have a culture to match it. Every Marine, from cook to pilot, is trained first as a rifleman. But beneath all of it is the layer that works in the dark. Sitting across every branch is a force so large it's almost a service of its own. U.S. Special Operations Command, SOCOM. Around 70,000 people, the elite of the elite, and, on its own, bigger than the entire military of many countries. You know the names even if you don't know the structure. The Navy SEALs, the Army's Green Berets, 12-man teams, each fluent in foreign languages, trained to walk into a country and raise an entire guerrilla army from scratch. The 75th Ranger Regiment, where at all times one battalion is on standby to deploy anywhere on Earth within 18 hours. The Night Stalkers, a secret helicopter unit that flies in total darkness, under enemy radar, putting commandos where no one believes it's possible. And above them, the most secretive layer of all, the units the government barely admits exist. Delta Force, SEAL Team 6. You already know what they can do. In 2011, a team of SEALs, carried by those radar-evading Night Stalker helicopters, flew deep into Pakistan in total darkness, raided a compound, killed the most wanted man on Earth, and flew out before the world knew they'd ever been there. But the point isn't that America can run one famous raid. The point is that it built an entire global machine that can find a target in any country, reach it, strike it, extract its people, and disappear over and over on short notice anywhere on the planet. That's not a unit, that's a system, and no one else on Earth has it. 4 pieces of the system down. The 5th one doesn't fight on Earth at all. Chapter 5. Space, the Nervous System. Let's run a thought experiment. What happens if the United States military loses control of space for exactly 60 minutes? The global banking system crashes because every financial transaction on Earth relies on military satellites for split-second time stamping. National power grids fall out of phase. Commercial flights fly blind. And the American war machine, the trillion-dollar apparatus we just spent 4 chapters tearing apart, instantly goes deaf, dumb, and blind. Smart bombs become dumb iron. Drones lose their tethers. Supercarriers can't share targeting data. That is exactly why, in 2019, the United States did something it hadn't done in over 70 years. It stood up an entirely new branch of the military, the Space Force. People hear that name and picture sci-fi movies. The reality is much colder and infinitely more dangerous. It is the smallest branch by far, roughly 9,000 Guardians, but they hold the keys to the nervous system of the modern world. Take GPS. Most people think it's just magic baked into their phones. In reality, it is a constellation of exactly 31 active satellites suspended 12,000 miles above our heads, broadcasting a time-sync signal accurate to the nanosecond. The U.S. military built it, owns it, and runs it. The entire planet, allies and adversaries alike, quietly depends on it every second of every day. America became the utility company for the entire world, and now it has to defend the grid. Because space is no longer an empty sanctuary, It is a heavily armed war zone. 22,000 miles up, sitting in geosynchronous orbit, is the SBIRS network, the space-based infrared system. These are the eyes that never blink. Their sensors are so exquisitely sensitive that if a tactical missile lifts off in a local border skirmish on the far side of the planet, an American satellite clocks the heat bloom in seconds. They are the final tripwire before the end of the world. And they have to look that high because the ground is getting dangerous. Rivals aren't just building more ships, they are pouring billions into extreme physics. As adversaries develop superconducting single-photon detectors and quantum radar, systems engineered specifically to strip the invisibility cloak off American stealth technology, the sky is no longer a safe haven. If the day comes when a B-21 Raider or a 6th-gen NGAD fighter can be tracked by a quantum sensor, America has only one place left to go to maintain absolute overmatch: higher. So the Space Force isn't just looking down at the dirt, they are policing the void. They actively track over 40,000 objects whipping around the planet at 17,500 miles per hour. At that speed, a stray bolt carries the kinetic energy of a hand grenade. A dead satellite is a weapon of mass destruction. Which brings us to the apex predator of America's orbital arsenal, the X-37B. It looks like a miniature space shuttle, completely uncrewed. The Pentagon calls it an orbital test vehicle, which is the most boring name possible for what it actually does. It launches into orbit and vanishes. One mission stayed up for 718 days. Another broke 900 days. And here is the gritty engineering detail that keeps foreign intelligence awake at night. Satellites are highly predictable. Orbital mechanics dictates exactly where they will be. But the X-37B is capable of aerobraking. It can drop out of the vacuum, violently dip its wings into the friction of Earth's upper atmosphere to brake, and rip its trajectory into a completely new path and bounce back out into deep space. By the time enemy radar recalibrates to figure out where it went, it's gone. It is a stealth fighter for the vacuum of space, and recently, it stopped using standard military rockets. It rode a SpaceX Falcon Heavy, a 3-core monster with enough thrust to throw a payload past the moon. Why put a low-orbit spaceplane on a heavy-lift rocket? Because they didn't put it in low orbit. The Pentagon hurled it out into highly elliptical deep space, right where adversaries' most highly classified spy satellites like to hide. Pause and sit with that image. A Black Ops military spaceplane, capable of surfing the atmosphere like a ghost, hurled into deep space by a private billionaire's commercial rocket. That fusion, the deepest secrets of the American military-industrial complex, riding on the back of ruthless, iterative private tech companies like SpaceX, is an economic and technological sledgehammer that no other nation on Earth can replicate. Space is the 5th domain, but it is the domain that rules the other 4. If you own the sky, you win the battle. But if you own orbit, you own the sky. The real secret: industrial adaptation. Every rival has the same dream: copy America's current generation of weapons. The problem is that by the time they finish copying one generation, America has already replaced it with the next. Look at what's already coming. The F-47, a 6th-generation fighter that won't fly alone. It's built to be a quarterback, commanding a swarm of robotic drone wingmen that scout, jam, and absorb the first missiles so the human pilot survives. One pilot, an entire pack. The B-21 Raider, a new stealth bomber that ran a flight test program meant to take 180 days and finished it in 73. Because the whole aircraft was designed digitally and could be tested almost daily. The Columbia-class submarine, the most expensive shipbuilding program in U.S. Navy history, over $130 billion, carrying the most survivable nuclear deterrent on Earth deep into the second half of this century. And the laser already mounted on a Navy destroyer, firing at the speed of light for about $1 a shot, with a magazine that never runs dry. That is the direct answer to the missile countdown problem from Chapter 1. A weapon that can't be drained by a swarm of cheap drones. And yes, many people say America is quietly losing the hypersonic race to Russia and China. Maybe, but in the most secret hangars in the country, projects like the SR-72, the rumored son of Blackbird, are said to be taking shape. Aircraft meant to fly at Mach 6, 6 times the speed of sound, where air friction doesn't just heat metal, but can melt it, demanding materials that barely exist and exotic fuels engineered to absorb the heat and keep the aircraft alive. This is a country whose entire history is reverse engineering the limits of physics. It fell behind the Soviets in the missile race once, and then put human beings on the moon. Betting against the American defense machine catching up has, historically, been a very bad bet. That's the thing no rival can copy. Not the carriers, not the bombers. The machine that builds the next generation before anyone finishes copying the last. So let's answer the question we started with. Why has every rival failed to catch the United States, even knowing exactly what they were chasing? China built more ships. Russia built faster missiles. Iran built cheaper drones. And none of it closed the gap. Because the gap was never just hardware. It's a Navy that outweighs the next 13 combined. The only real stealth air fleet on Earth, able to reach any point on the globe. A land force that arrives from another continent in days. A human machine that reaches into any country in the dark. A nervous system in orbit the whole planet runs on. And an industry that replaces a generation before its rivals can copy the last one. You can buy ships, you can buy jets, you cannot buy the system. That is why catching America has never been the same thing as copying America. So tell me in the comments, which piece of the system do you want me to open up next, in full? The silent submarines, the stealth bombers, the shadow raids, the secret space programs. You pick it, I'll build it. Because believe me, there is a lot more in this machine you haven't seen yet.